Hello, everybody. I'm here with Lori Shook, who is we're colleagues and friends, but also the co-author of the Alchemy program, which I absolutely love. And I'm excited that we're bringing it in person in London on March the 15th, 16 and 17. Yay!
Yeah, so nice that we're
Lori,
having it in person. Thank you, Nairy, for bringing it back to the live stage.
I know, it's so exciting. Yeah, it's exciting. And we're excited because London is currently in a very welcoming, it's become a very welcoming space, and re-welcoming everybody back into work, or we have tourists and all sorts of things. So the atmosphere is all about co-creation. Something is trying to emerge. So I'm really excited about it. So Lori, I'd love to know a little bit more about you. There are some people who don't know who you are. And also, let's have a conversation about Alchemy, and I'll share with you all the wonderful things that I've taken from these fabulous 3 days.
Great. So where to start?
Indeed.
So I can start with, I suppose, the inspiration of the Alchemy program. There were many times when I was co-facilitating, whether that was leading or co-coaching, delivering a program, a training program, or co-coaching. And there were times when it worked and there were times when it didn't. And there were people I worked with where it worked better and people I worked with where it didn't work so well. And one colleague and I, we had a magic dynamic, and we sat down and tried to figure out what is it that makes a magical kind of co-facilitation. And so we broke it down into bits. Now, and in Alchemy, what we do is we present this deconstructed. It's like a deconstruction. Here's this part and this part and this part, and we can go into what those parts are. And then we bring it all together. And it's that collection of those different skills, meta skills, if you will, and other ways of being, a sense of authority, and different kinds of things that come together that make it a magical kind of co-facilitation. Again, whether you're co-coaching or delivering a program together, like a training program. So, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Really brings a lot of consciousness and intentionality. And I think the Alchemy training, because as you said, breaks it down, it also gives you so many facets of yourself and your co-coach or co-delivery person, whatever. We need to cut that one out, Lori. They will. So just, it gives you permission to actually own all the skills and the presence, the way we approach, the way we present ourselves. I think that,
Yeah. And it's the way we present ourselves in service of what. And the whole thing came down to in service of what? What are we up to together? When we compared how does it work when it's working, and why does it not work when it's not working, it looked like it was about being on the same page. Like, are we on the same page? What are we up to here? Yes, sure, we want to be a little, do a little improv and be in the moment and create in the moment. But if we don't have a container or a direction, we can't do that. Improv people, when they get on stage, the comedy people, they're not just random. They have structures, and they're after something, and they can, with a loose structure, you can co-create together. And I shouldn't say loose structure, but there's like something we need to commit to. And that's what we came down to, is what are we committing to? What are we after together? So you might see the world one way and I see the world another way, but we're both committed to having certain outcomes, what we call learning points, which in co-coaching could also be certain outcomes that we want for the team. Are we aiming to reveal a conflict that wants to happen, or are we aiming for positivity? If I'm aiming for one thing and my co-coach is aiming for another thing, we are going to clash, and it's going to create chaos in the team. So we need to identify what is it we're after and get married around that. It's like, yes, we're together on that. And sure, we bring our individuality to it, but we know where we're going at least in a conceptual way, so that we can bring all our tools and skills to that.
Yeah, I love that, because once you agree on the container, then you can be yourself in the relationship. It's not asking for you to do anything, but if you don't know it, then you're always trying to guess what the other person is thinking. Can I just ask, I love that. The two things that really stands out for me about Alchemy is that we are after something, and how do we commit to the learning points and getting what it is that we're after. So that's the first part. And the second part is, how do we work together so that it's not one person saying, this is the part that I'm going to do, this is the part you're going to do. It's how is it that we take co-responsibility for the whole thing.
Yeah. And it comes back to the two main parts of Alchemy is, what are you after? Those learning points. Let's agree. Let's get clear ahead of time that what those are, and what they look like, what they sound like, and that we both align and agree that that's what we're going to be doing. And then we need to tend to the relationship. So when we looked at what are the relationships that work and what are the ones that don't, the ones that don't were a little competitive at times. I'm showing up versus you showing up. And so we need to commit to our relationship and tend to our relationship. How are we doing? Are we on the same page? Are we going the same direction? Are you agreeing with me, disagreeing with me? We need to clean that up if we are disagreeing, or be open about the disagreement and allow it to contribute to the learning points. So I might see the learning points one way, and my partner, my co-facilitator, sees it slightly differently. We can share that as long as we don't come up with my way is better.
Yes.
So when we're in that mode of going in the same direction and we're trusting one another, then it's easy to have that dance. It's relatively easy. I mean, we need to get used to it and like that, because it is a little awkward if we're used to, I'm doing this part and you're doing that part. Then I go off stage, basically. Even if I'm sitting there, up front, I'm still kind of off stage. Here we both come on stage and we both agree that we're going to be in it together. And I listen. Listening, is such an important skill. And I don't know if we pay enough attention to it, but a lot of times when things don't go well, it's because co-leaders, co-coaches, trainers aren't listening to one another. What did my colleague just say? How do I find that right? How do I build on it? How do I align with it? How do I even disagree with it, but not, disregard it? Or, if we're not listening to each other, we might say the same thing, and then it sounds like we're competing.
Yeah, it's exhausting, isn't it? But you are right that it does. The 3 days that you spend in Alchemy, there is so much practice to listen to your co-coach, whoever you're working with. And that's the gift of it. The listening exercise is so much fun, because I remember, I think there was something around language, someone telling a story and you had to listen and pick. And the last time I did it was such a long time ago, as in person. I think it was in Frankfurt, and watching all the partners listening to each other and having hysterics as they practice, tuning in their ear to listen to the audience or the team or whoever you're working with, and hold this really sparkling, crackling ear, because you need to know what your partner just said. As you said, how do you take it and land it? How do you say, is that clear? Let's move on. Yeah. How do you do that? Yeah. So just to go in, the 3 days do teach you those two parts of Alchemy very clearly. And what I love is that it's a build on. By the time you get to day 3, you've got a workshop, you've actually presented it, you've presented it together, you've seen the impact, you've had a little bit of a feel good or needed to adjust yourself. Like, it's not, it's a really learning environment.
Yeah, it's extremely experiential. and it's about experiential work. So coaching is an experiential learning activity. In my opinion, that's how I hold it. The client team is learning something. They're revealing something. They're adapting in some way. They're creating team agreements. All of that is experiential. And Alchemy is about experiential. And so we do a lot of experiences, and we're always trying to walk our talk. in every moment of Alchemy, we're trying to walk our talk so we can talk about it. Well, here's what we're doing in order to show you this, and it's a training environment, and we have one demo where we actually make it a team coaching, but we walk our talk in the training environment, which is totally applicable to a team coaching, co-coaching.
Yeah. Okay, so if there's one thing you would like to tell anybody who's listening to this about Alchemy, what would it be?
Well, I'll tell you what's on top of my mind. And
Go
it's
ahead.
just building on what you said a couple of minutes ago. There are so many things going on. There's, what is my partner saying? What is going on in the audience? And I need to receive what's happening in the audience, hear what my partner is saying, so not forget about that part. There's my energy, there's our energy that has an impact, and we influence the space, and we need to tend to that. So I think a lot of what we're doing is learning to multitask. And that's hard. It's hard work. It takes a lot of energy to multitask, but that's what makes the magic, is knowing where we're going together, seeing how it's landing, crafting ourselves, and using all of ourselves as instruments so that we can have an amazing magical impact on our group, whether that group is a training group or a team we're coaching.
Yay. Okay. Thank you, Lori.